Leave a like in this video. I'll give you nothing. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. And just imagine for a second, you're sitting in class and there's a spoiled kid who gets so mad that his teacher doesn't let him blatantly cheat on an exam that he burns down her house. Yeah, so that's today's story that I'll be telling. So sit back, relax, maybe get something to eat, get yourself comfortable, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story, we're going to call him Alex. And anyways, there's this kid in his class who we're going to call the spoiled kid. He was a spoiled kid because, he was given unlimited money, and the reason why he was given basically a credit card with no spending limit was because his parents were never around. They were always both, doing some other job overseas. So Alex had the spoiled kid had multiple houses that he would go to and from with or whatever, right? And I think he lived with his grandparents or something, or one of the houses his parents bought for his grandparents to live with Alex. But basically Alex lived by himself. And yeah, he was given an unlimited credit card, which, let me just say, when you're raising your kids, giving them an unlimited credit card instead of actually raising them is very clearly not an actual way to raise a child. And it's pretty evident by this story. But anyways, this kid was also known as the fire kid because he had an incident before, which I'll just go over very briefly as it's important for the story. Basically, the spoiled kid, he got in trouble before for lighting multiple brush fires or trying to set trees on fire. This kid was the arson kid, bro. He was trying to light everything on fire that he could see. And he once got in pretty big trouble for doing that. And yeah, ever since that point, the police kind of had him. They kind of had him on a list. At that time, he was 16. Now he's 18 in the story. But at the time, they couldn't do that much about it. They just basically said, hey, you're on really thin ice right now. That could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, he didn't actually set an entire forest on fire or anything. But he tried to, and he did some damage, right? Anyways, you're just not supposed to be doing that in general. But this all happened one day, right? Let's say that this was a Monday, because Alex and the spoiled kid and everyone else in Alex's math class had a really big exam that Friday. And instead of studying for the exam that Monday, because they were doing test review or whatever, for the entire week before, the spoiled kid was basically talking up this girl during class for the entire week before that this was happening. So, Alex was looking over because everyone knew that this was a pretty difficult assignment, this is a pretty difficult test. And they were watching as the spoiled kid was just talking up this girl the entire time. They were both in the back of the classroom. They were just not paying attention at all. And Alex kind of looks at them and is just well, I mean, if these kids fail, it's not I'm going to be surprised or anything, dude. It's just kind of how this is going to go. But yeah, so anyways, over the next week up until Friday, the day of the test, the spoiled kid shows up on Monday, just talks with the girl the whole time, but then he just skips class, which is not that big of a deal in college. I mean, it kind of is, but it's much bigger of a deal in high school. So he just wasn't even coming to class because he was talking to this girl that he was trying to talk up, right? And for that reason, he probably wasn't going to do that pretty well on the test, you know what I mean? So let's just skip to the day of the test. So just so you guys know, he was not paying attention Monday and Tuesday during review, and he literally skipped class Wednesday and Thursday. I obviously showed up the day of the test. But he gets there, and he gets there 5 minutes late, right? So Alex and the rest of the class is already starting to take their test. And this spoiled kid, dude, he shows up 5 minutes late, and the teacher gives him a look. The teacher isn't even going to chew him out because the teacher knows that this kid is not doing well in the class anyways. He's not putting in the effort. And if anyone needed that extra 5 minutes or if anyone couldn't afford to lose 5 minutes on this exam, it was this kid. So the teacher wasn't even going to chew him out because he was dude, this kid's going to get it either way, right? So the spoiled kid sits down, and he happens to sit down in, not right in front of Alex, but close enough to Alex that Alex could see what this kid was doing. And this kid whips out his phone and puts it on his lap. Now, there's a very serious no phone policy. Even if you whipped out your phone and you were just checking Snapchat, you were going to be presumed that you were cheating. Just because teachers weren't super tech savvy and they were there might be some apps or devices that kind of like a ghost client type thing, like your cheating client, but like if you exit out of the app, it just like deletes everything and it just looks like a normal calculator. I know that there's like secret apps where you can like have like a diary or something, but it looks like a calculator. And they're like, I don't know if there's going to be a cheating app like that or something, which would actually be kind of genius, but I'm not going to be the one to make that, guys. If I gave you $1 million idea, I get 10% equity, okay? Just putting it out there right now. Yeah, but anyways, so he has his phone out, and he's very blatantly looking at his phone. So Alex is watching as the spoiled kid is just very blatantly cheating. And the thing is, right, the classroom is kind of dark in the first place. So it's like a dark classroom, and the spoiled kid doesn't even turn down the brightness on his phone. So it's almost as if there's like a blue glare coming out of his lap. Like, it is the most ridiculous, most blatant, probably one of the worst cheating efforts Alex has ever seen in his life. And he's just like looking at this, it's like, what is going on? And then he's like, all right, man, like I can't get distracted. Like I still got to do well on my test, even if I'm interested in this kid failing over there. So, Alex puts his head down, gets back to working on the test. But Alex, like a couple minutes later, looks up because he hears the teacher get out of his chair. So some teachers will do rounds during tests or whatever. Like they'll go around and just kind of look just to make sure nothing super sus is happening or anything like that. But this teacher, because Alex has had a test with this teacher before. This teacher would never get out of his chair. Like he would just sit there, he would grade, he would barely look up. So the fact that this teacher was getting out of his chair and the fact that he's walking towards Alex, which the spoiled kid happened to be pretty close to Alex was like 95% sure the second the teacher got up that he was going to, confront the spoiled kid, right? Because pretty clearly the spoiled kid, it was cheating. And right, the spoiled kid wasn't even paying attention to the fact that the teacher was literally walking up right towards him, right? Like this kid was, like the teacher was walking up to this kid cheating. So Alex is just like just going ahead, going about his business, blatantly cheating, all that kind of good stuff. Not good stuff, but you know what I mean. And the teacher walks up to him and literally grabs his phone. Like grabs his phone before Alex could turn it off and like deny and be like, oh, I wasn't cheating and you can't check my phone. It's a breach of privacy. I mean, he was going to be given a 0 either way because like it's a very strict no phone policy. But the teacher whips it up. It's very clearly like it is like a math calculator type thing that can do the quadratic equations they were doing because this is high school. This is like senior year, so it's like algebra 2 or whatever. And he looks at kind of like the spoiled kid. And he doesn't make a huge scene out of it, but he's like, I'm going to have to take your test now because, the spoiled kid says, oh, I'm not done with it though, dude. And the thing is, right, well, it doesn't matter if you're done with it. It doesn't matter if you've done all of it or you've done none of it because you're going to get a 0 either way. It was very clear in the beginning of the year that if you were caught cheating, that you were going to get a 0 on your test. So the teacher tries to just like not make a big deal out of it. He doesn't want to make a scene because he doesn't want to, one, embarrass, the spoiled kid. And he also, two, doesn't want to distract the other kids because they're going to need every minute that they're given. And he's like, I just need it's like, look, I caught you cheating. Like, I need to take your test. And the spoiled kid, like, very aggressively, like yells back almost like, I'm not done, though. You can't take it away from me. And that's when, like, kids are starting to turn around. And the teacher starts to say, like, more clearly and more out loud, he's like, I'm taking your test. Like, you were like, look, he, like, pulls up the phone. He's like, you're on a website you're putting in the answers. You're cheating on the exam. We went over in the beginning of the year that if I ever caught you guys like cheating on an exam, that you would get a 0 on this test. Like, it's not going to matter at all if you put more, like if you write more stuff down, because either way you're getting a 0. So might as well just like, let me take your test now. And the spoiled kid is like super angry about this. Like instead of being like, oh my God, I'm caught, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm going to get a 0 on this test, like kind of freaking out. This kid was not freaking out in the sense that he was worried or concerned. He was freaking out in the sense that he was mad, that he was like angry at this point. So yeah, the spoiled kid looks at the teacher and says like, I'm going to give you one chance to give me that test back. He says, or else you're going to suffer the consequences. And the teacher was taken aback by this because he's never, in all of his years of teaching, when he caught a kid cheating, because he's caught a kid cheating like 3 or 4 times or something like that, like a handful of times, he's never had like a student yell back, like threaten back. Like, what is the student going to do? And little did he know that this was Arson Kid. But anyways, yeah, so he's like, he's like, excuse me? And the kid's like, you heard me. Like, if you don't give me back my test, you're going to suffer the consequences. And the teacher is like, Like, okay, whatever, I'm suffering the consequences and you're suffering your consequences, implying that he's going to get a 0 for cheating, right? So he picks up the test, and the spoiled kid is just looking so angry. He's looking just so angry right now. And the spoiled kid gets his backpack and he like walks to the front of the class. And before he leaves, he looks at the teacher and he says pretty audibly, like, you know, Alex can hear this, even though Alex is kind of in the back of the room. Like, I gave you a chance, man. Like, what happens next is not my fault. Which is ridiculous, but whatever, right? So the teacher kind of looks at him weirdly. I think the teacher, like, literally, because he, like, pulled out his notebook. Alex doesn't know if the teacher wrote that down specifically or was writing something else, but it looks as if the teacher kind of noted, like, yeah, this kid just, like, threatened me or whatever, just for, like, future reference. So, yeah, the spoiled kid got a 0 on that test, understandably. So the next day comes around, and they go into math class, and today was supposed to be more of a chill day since they had an exam the day before. And for the first time ever in Alex's experience, the teacher wasn't in. Like Alex's math teacher was like kind of like he was like a middle-aged older dude, I guess. And he would come in no matter what. Like, this dude would come in even when he was sick. Like, this dude, like, was very dedicated to his job. So when he came in and he saw a substitute teacher sitting in the chair of his teacher, Alex was, like, a little bit like, oh, wow, I guess he's either, like, has had some, like, family emergency or is really, really sick. Like, this dude would not call in sick with a cold or even, like, a pretty bad flu. He would come in either way. He was one of those teachers. So Alex, right off the bat, was like, all right, that's a little strange or whatever. And they're sitting in class, and the substitute teacher's like, hey, sorry, the teacher can't come in. He has to deal with something. And when the substitute teacher says he has to deal with something, the spoiled kid, his face lights up almost. His face, like, lights up with this, like, a little bit of a smirk. And the thing is, for some reason, Alex is, like, looking over at the spoiled kid. He just happens to be accidentally glancing at him, and he catches this smirk. And Alex thinks it's really weird at the time, but in retrospect, it is, like, the craziest thing for the spoiled kid to do, to smirk after he said that. As you guys will soon hear what happens next. So within about 20 minutes, the school goes on lockdown. So it's over the loudspeaker, right? It's like lockdown. I think they say drill, but I feel like they always say drill to make sure that there's no panic and also to mask when there's actually, I don't know, maybe it just is like lockdown or whatever. Like, everyone needs to, like, account for their students, keep them in the classroom, shut the lights, lock the door, whatever, stuff like that. So everyone kind of thinks that this is like one of those lockdown drills. I don't know if you guys had these in high school or middle school, but I know I used to have these, at least in middle school, where you'd have a lockdown drill and it was like, oh, okay, free 20 minutes off of class, like, word. So they were all kind of sitting there, and Alex was really thinking to himself, damn, like, on my off day, basically, like, are you serious? Like, can't we do this during a day I don't want to be in class? But it turns out that this was not a drill. Basically, the school wanted to make sure that everyone was, like, that every kid was accounted for, and that one kid specifically was accounted for. That kid was the spoiled kid. Because as Alex and the other kids were being sit down for lockdown, police were entering the building. Dun, dun, dun. If you made it this far into the video, comment house down below. House, comment house. That'll be the secret word of the day. And if you want to support the channel, literally the best thing you can do is watch this video till the end. Like, it's going to be a bit of a longer one, but honestly, if you're one of the few people who watch it all the way to the end, actually a good like 20-30% of you who do that, I will appreciate it. Like, it will support the channel more than you can ever imagine. And as always, if you want to binge watch my old videos, that is probably one of the best things you can do. Let me know in the comment section down below if you are binge watching my old videos, and I will try and say thank you and heart all those comments because it really does support the channel. Anyways, let's just get right back to it. So, yeah, the police are entering the building, but no one really knows this. Most people think it's just a normal lockdown drill. But, you know, Alex looks over and the spoiled kid actually looks a little bit uncomfortable. Whatever smirk that generated on his face when, you know, this substitute teacher said that, you know, the other teacher couldn't be in today because he had to deal with something, that smirk was completely gone. And it was almost a look of, like, real discomfort or something. So about 10 minutes later into the lockdown, right? Normally their lockdown drills were pretty short, so Alex was a little confused, like, why this one is still going on. And normally what they would hear is like, you know, a police officer, like, check all, like, rattle on all the doors. But the thing is, right, Alex wasn't hearing the police officers rattling on any of the doors. they just hear a knock on one of their doors. And the teacher goes up. The police officer's like, hey, we got to come in. So he lets them in or whatever, which I don't know if that's protocol or not. But he lets them in. And the police officers are like talking to the substitute teacher for like a really long time, or not a really, okay, like a minute, which is kind of long. And the substitute teacher takes out his list, his attendance sheet, because the attendance sheet had not just the name, but also had a face, because they basically had like a directory, a student directory that you would like type in your name or whatever. So the names were attached to the faces. And the police officers were like pointing at a name on the sheet. And then they all looked up. The substitute and all the police officers looked up, and they looked up right next to Alex. Alex got like spooked for a second, like he had like an anxiety rush, because it looked like it looked like for a second that these guys were looking at him. But what actually was happening is they were looking at the kid 2 kids over from him, aka the spoiled kid. So all the police officers, like all of them, walk up. And one of them says, I need you to come with us, points to the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid, without even questioning it, because the spoiled kid knows that the gig is up, literally just stands up and goes with them. And at this point, like, Alex turns to his friends, and everyone starts, like, chattering, like, a little bit. And the substitute teacher's like, guys, quiet, please. Like, this is a lockdown. Like, you cannot be talking like that during the lockdown. But no one's really... Dude, it's a sub. I'm so sorry. Subs they don't hold as much weight as, like, they should, right? So anyways, the spoiled kid is like not dragged off, but he's walked off by all these police officers. And Alex turns to one of his friends. He's like, dude, like, what was that? And the guy's like, I don't know, man. I thought this was simply like a lockdown drill. Like, I didn't think that, the cops, I didn't think that this was like legit or anything. And they're like, why do you think he took the kid away? And Alex is like, dude, do you remember in class yesterday when he like was threatening the teacher? Like, you don't want to like, do you think he did something with the teacher? And Alex's friend was like, oh my God, like, the teacher isn't in today. And like, yeah, like the spoiled kid also threatened him if he didn't. And now the spoiled kid's taken away by the police. They all kind of just came to the conclusion that it almost had to be like some kind of connection. Like, no way that was a coincidence, like not a shot. Right. And so they're all kind of talking about it. And that's when Alex and his friends, eventually they're let out of the lockdown. And they kind of had like a 15-minute free period between their next class, which happened to be their last class. And Alex and his friends walk over to a big group of kids, and they just hear the kids talking about like, did you see how the spoiled kid was taken away with the police officers? And there was a rumor going away that the spoiled kid had gone back to his arsonist past and had actually burned down one of the teacher's houses. And, eventually, like, Alex and his friends burst in and said, we know which teacher it was. If that's true, we know the teacher. So everyone immediately, like, their ears perk up and they listen in. And Alex and his, like, friend are like, dude, we're in math class yesterday. This kid was cheating. The teacher tried to take away the test from him because he was going to get a 0 either way. And Alex threatened him, saying, if I'm going to give you a chance to give that back to me before something bad happens. The teacher ignored him. And on the way out, Alex said that, like, whatever happens next is the teacher's fault because Alex gave him a fair warning. And yeah, I mean, at this point, all the other kids were like, oh my God, like, we know how that is. So at this point, Alex and his friends were kind of like, okay, like, we want to investigate this for ourselves, right? So they look in they're like, does anyone know where this teacher lives? And it happened that one of the kids used to be tutored by this guy, this math teacher. And like, this guy would hold tutoring sessions of like 2 to 3 kids at his house. And the guy's like, I know the directions. And he like looks and this kid scrolls for like 5 minutes and texts from his mom until he finds like a text from a year ago that has the directions to this guy's house or has his address or whatever. So he copy and pastes it. He sends it to Alex. So Alex and his friends put it into Google Maps and sees that it's like a 15-minute walk from Alex's house. So anyways, they go into their next period class and they can't pay attention because, dude, I wouldn't be able to pay attention either. Like, this is pretty freaking crazy. And so after class, they get out and they immediately rush down. They just start walking towards like this house, right? And from far away, they see like a black cloud above like the house. And it was like kind of like dissipating smoke. And they're like, oh my God, like oh my God. And as they approach it, they start to smell like almost as if like the smell of someone barbecuing. But instead of barbecuing some nice meats or something, having a nice roast or something like that, it was barbecued wood, bro. It was barbecued like it was crispy cement and foundation. and like chairs and beds and frames and all that kind of stuff, right? It was a burnt house, dude. So they're walking closer and closer. So they're getting closer and closer to this guy's house, and they get there, and there's this burnt house. There's this charred house. The thing isn't like flattened or anything, but the damage is crazy, right? And they get there, and they can only get so close, right? They have to look from kind of a distance because there's a bunch of police over there. There's the fire department. There's like an ambulance. Basically, this was like the big thing that was going on right now. So Alex and his friends look at it from afar, and they take a photo of it, and they all post on their Snapchat or whatever, right? And they send photos back to the guys back at the school, and everyone's talking about it. And so they're all talking online. And that's when they're like, dude, we need to confirm this. So one of Alex's friends says, hey, like we could always go to the spoiled kid's girlfriend. So the girl that the spoiled kid was talking to in the beginning of class the day before, and also skipped class like the 2 days before the test to talk with, that was his girlfriend. And she was still going to that school. And one of Alex's friends was not close to her, but was friends with her, quote unquote, right? So the next day in school, all the kids go up together. And they all kind of like walk up. Well, okay, they all walk up like they were all about to go up to the spoiled kid's girlfriend until Alex is like, wait. We can't all crowd her as a group. She might like get nervous or something like that. So Alex points to his friend who knows her. You need to go up there and you need to talk to her. And his friend's like, dude, that's going to be awkward. And Alex is like, well, you want to know, right? He's like, yeah, okay, fine. So Alex's friend goes up there to the girlfriend. Now I'm going to tell it very briefly from Alex's friend's perspective. So anyways, Alex's friend goes up to the girlfriend of the spoiled kid and is like, hey, like, I don't want to like be intrusive or anything, but like, I think you know what questions I have, right? And Alex's the girlfriend of the spoiled kid is like, yeah, I think I know what you're going to ask about. And like, I can't really say anything like confirmation wise or not, because like, there's law enforcement involved in everything. So if like this gets back to me, I'm going to say that you're delusional and you made it up. But yeah, things have been going around. They're basically all true. I haven't heard anything that's not true. So take that however you want. So Alex's friend returns to the group and tells them that basically the spoiled kid's girlfriend confirms that the rumors are true, more or less. And at this point, everyone's like, oh my God. So here's the thing. Alex was 18 or is 18 or was 18 at the time because this story happened a little while ago. So when he was 16 and he had the charges of like setting like bushes on fire or whatever, he got in like some trouble. But it's a huge difference when, one, you actually like burn down someone's house because like you threaten them, which is insane, first of all. But also, you're no longer a kid anymore. In the eyes of the law, dude, you're a freaking adult. So whatever happens to you, you're going to be tried as an adult. So anyways, Alex, first of all, he's expelled from the school. So this is kind of the aftermath in the next couple weeks. You guys might be thinking that the story is over. No. It is far from over. But the aftermath in the next couple weeks basically goes along the lines of Alex is officially expelled from the school. Alex is in huge legal trouble. Alex's parents have to spend like hundreds of thousands of like lawyers and litigation and courts. Basically, they're trying to throw all their money at making sure that their son doesn't get like arrested for a long time. They also Alex's parents have multiple houses. And, there's, they move him to a house pretty far away so that this kid doesn't stay in the neighborhood because they think, okay, if this kid is known as the kid who burned down some other house in the neighborhood, he's probably not going to be welcome here. So let's move him out, right? I think it only makes sense to move him out, right? So they move him out. They move him to like another state or something like that. And obviously, I think or not obviously, but the spoiled kid's girlfriend breaks up with the spoiled kid because, one, he doesn't live there, and two, he's a psychopath who burns down people's houses because they fail him on a test. Like, it's not that deep, bro. And, people are questioning her, like, not every single day, but for months afterwards. That girl, people would go to her, like, routinely a couple times per day. Most of the time, she'd tell them just to, like, screw off or whatever. But the one guy that she did talk to and give updates was Alex's friend, because they became close over this. And he kind of gave her some, like, a shoulder to cry on. Alex's friend low-key is a dog, though, because he ended up dating that girl like 6 months later. Like, you got to think, what was this guy's intentions? But hey, man, I mean, it's a win for the boys, so I gotta give him a round of applause, right? But anyways, what Alex's girlfriend knows from like following him on Alex's like super private accounts or whatever, and just kind of knowing more about him, is that he moved to a new school district. He was basically able to like bypass all the charges because I hate to say it, but sometimes in like the legal system here, if you have enough money, not always, but in some cases, if you throw the right lawyers and you pay off the right people, you can kind of get out of things scot-free. It's kind of an issue, and I'm hoping that that will be solved or at least cleaned up a little bit in the future. But yeah, basically, the spoiled kid got off practically scot-free from all of this, and he goes to a new school in like another state or whatever. Fast forward 1 year. This is where things get crazy again. So a year later, Alex and his friends, they've graduated high school. They all go to college in different states. Actually, fast forward a little more than 1 year, because this is the summer after their first year in college. So they all come back, and one of Alex's friends decides to kind of host a party at his house because his parents are gone. It's kind of a reunion type thing, but he only invited people that he thought was... He didn't invite the entire grade. It was a reunion type party, but he really only invited people that he thought were chill, right? One of the people apparently wasn't as chill as Alex's friends thought he was, because one of the people knew the spoiled kid a little bit better than everyone else. And I'm not going to spoil it yet, but let me just say that kid would not be invited back to later parties. So anyways, people start showing up, and, Alex and his friends, are pretty excited. So they all show up, and it's great because, like, they're seeing all the people that they used to go to school with. A lot of kids went to college, like, out of town. So it was a pretty good time. It was pretty cool to see everyone there. Alex got there pretty early to help like set up and just make sure things were good because he was pretty close with this guy. And eventually people were starting to trickle in throughout the night. So this party wasn't supposed to go crazy late. It was kind of just like as late as people wanted it to be, but also like don't invite random people. Like that isn't your house. That isn't very cool. And also, yeah, so like a few people showed up that weren't totally on the list or like the list. It wasn't like an official, like they didn't have a bouncer being like, dude, you're not on the list, man. Name 7 brothers or something like that. However, like some people were kind of like invited that didn't go through the host, and the host, which was Alex's friend, wasn't super happy about that. However, those people that were invited, like Alex's friend legitimately did like and just kind of forgot to invite. And he was chill that they came, but he kind of was like, dude, like don't invite people that I don't know. And unfortunately, though, around midnight, so half the people have already left, the whole thing's dying down, and that's when, like, Alex and his friend, not the one who's hosting, but just another friend, Alex and his friend are kind of standing near the door, and they're just kind of, like, reminiscing about, like, something crazy that happened, like, freshman year with this, like, girl or whatever. And that's when the door opens up. And who do you think walks through? I'll give you a few choices. A, Barack Obama. B, Connor from the Connor Pugs YouTube channel. Or C, Santa Claus. I'm also going to give you a final option, D, the spoiled kid who burned down someone's house and was basically banished from the neighborhood. If you answered A through C, you're a very bright person, but unfortunately you do not get it right because it is D. Yes, it is the spoiled kid who walked in. And, like, Alex's jaw literally drops for a second. He catches it quickly, but he's like, what's good, dude? The spoiled kid's like, what's up, man? Like, it's good to see you guys. Like, it's been forever since I've seen any of you guys, man. Like, what's the word? Like, this is kind of going crazy in here. Parties, first of all, it's very dead. Like, people are leaving. It's like midnight at this point, which, they were looking for something chill. They weren't looking for a rage or anything, so it's not going to be any high energy anyways. But the spoiled kid basically walks past Alex and his friend into the main room. And Alex turns to his friend and is like, what? And Alex's friend's like, dude, who invited that guy? And he's like, I definitely know the guy, like the friend who was hosting. I definitely know the host did not invite this guy. And Alex is like, dude, I think one of the other guys at this party probably just gave him the address because he asked or something like that. And he's like, dude, I don't know how he got here, but this might be a problem. So the spoiled kid, so eventually Alex and his friend walk into the main room where the spoiled kid now is, and everyone in that room has basically froze. The spoiled kid's like, what's good, guys? Like, it's been a second. It's good to see all you guys. Like, you guys know where the drinks are? I'm just going to go grab myself something real quick. And one of the kids is like, yeah, it's in the kitchen. And everyone gives him a dirty look. And this kid's kind of just thinking to himself, like, what did you want me to say? Like, I don't know, the drinks, they're in Argentina, bro. Get a flight, get one real quick, and then yeah, come back when you're done from your trip to Argentina. They'll take like 7 days. Like, what was he supposed to say here? But eventually, this kid goes into the kitchen, and the host is like, who? Who the frick invited this guy? He obviously says a little bit more of a naughty word, but I'm trying to get YouTube to like me. I think YouTube likes me, but I want them to like me more. So he's like, who the frick invited this guy? And they all look around, and no one fesses up. And, Alex is like, maybe it was a guy who left earlier. Like, I don't think anyone here would have, like, invited him, but I guess someone did. And the host is like, well, one way or another, this guy knew that I was throwing a little get-together party of the people in our grade that was invite only from me, by the way. And somehow he got the address, and somehow he's in my house, and somehow he's in my kitchen getting a drink from there. How did this happen, guys? Seriously, how did this happen? And they're all kind of just like looking around like, I don't know, dude. Like, we didn't invite him or whatever. And someone's like, do you think like that kid's like low-key kind of dangerous? Do you think someone could like go in and like just check out what he's doing? So the host is like, sure, like, I'm just going to go in. I'll see how he is. And he's like, you know what? We're wrapping up the party anyway. He kind of like says to the other guys, we're wrapping up the party soon anyways. So I was going to let everyone leave at their own time. But in 15 minutes, I need all of you guys to start saying that you have to go because we're wrapping this thing up. Everyone, including Alex, was in very firm agreement because they didn't want anything bad to happen. They didn't want this to get dangerous or anything. And that's when, the host walks in the kitchen. And he says, and like Alex is sitting in the room with all the other guys, and he hears the host scream, "What are you doing?" So at this point, Alex and the friends immediately like freak out and they run into the kitchen. And they run into the kitchen to see the spoiled kid with a lighter lit right next to like the host's like kitchen curtains. So basically there were like drapes in the kitchen that were like drapes across like one of the big like windows or doors or whatever, right? It was like a glass door. So they had drapes that you could pull across it during nighttime or whatever so you could close it up. And this kid, and the drapes are kind of light, right? They were kind of like a lighter fabric. The spoiled kid had brought a lighter with him and he literally had the thing lit right, and he was holding the curtain. And the spoiled kid's like, hey, man, he's like, spoiled kid he doesn't say anything. He's just kind of looking at them. And he kind of has this smile. He's like, hey, man, I'm just checking out these curtains. I just wanted to see, like, I'm a big curtain guy. I wanted to see the fabric. I wanted to see the quality of the fabric. It's called the lighter test. If it doesn't burst into flames, it's good fabric. Otherwise, you know the answer if the fabric's good or not. Basically, this kid's insane. So immediately, Alex and all of his friends are like, oh my God, like, this is actually ridiculous. Like, this is insane. And, the host of the party basically looks at all of them, gives them a look, kind of a look of like, do what, like, just follow my lead. I don't know how you can give that as a look, but kind of just gave them a look to, like, pay attention at least. And the host rushes in. So about 1 second after the host rushes in, everyone else kind of catches wind, and literally everyone there, Alex included, rushes in, and they all rush towards the spoiled kid. So the spoiled kid was kind of like a bigger kid, but when you have like literally like 7 to 10 guys on you, there's really nothing you can do. So 2 kids grab the lighter out of his hand. The other 6 to 8 of them just like basically tackle this guy's body. And after this, someone shouts out like, I got the lighter, I got the lighter. Everyone else like basically works collectively to push the spoiled kid out of the house. Like they literally go and they like are like pushing him out. The spoiled kid is like trying to fight them. He's like swinging on them. He hits the guy in the head, but the guy's totally fine. It was like a light hit or whatever, but he kind of like is like, and he like gets like a gash or whatever. But all the kids are kind of like, they're kind of just like pushing this guy out, all 8 of them or whatever. And some of them are being swung on, but they're taking it like champs, right? And eventually they are able to get this kid out of the house. They push him out. He kind of like trips down the stairs. It's only like 2 stairs. So he doesn't like tumble down a flight and like hit his head or something. But they push him out of there. And the spoiled kid gets up and is trying to like run into the door, but they quickly close it just in time. And the kid bumps into it. And like for a second, they think that he broke through the lock because he just like slammed his body into it. However, the lock works. Immediately, Alex actually calls up 911, explains that like a kid showed up to their gathering and he tried to like set fire, and he did mention like this was the kid from before. So the police were actually on top of that really quickly. So they're looking out the window and they see the spoiled kid like yelling at them, being like, hey, like, I'm just here to like chill with my boys from high school, man. Like, you wouldn't want me to be mad. I'm just trying to chill. Like, I still have the, like, you think that, like, I'm not going to come back, man? Like, I won't come back and cause any issues if you just let me in, dude. Basically, like, this kid was really bad news. Thankfully, though, the spoiled kid, like, sees out of the corner of his eye, like, that there's, like, the police sirens or whatever. So he bolts for it. And at this point, the host of the party runs out of his house because, like, there's two police officers, and he points to one of them, like, the spoiled kid is bolting that way. So one of the police officers go in the direction of where the spoiled kid went. The other one walks inside, kind of just asking what happened from all their perspectives, surveying the damage, taking a look at the kid's head that got, like, swung on, saying, like, you should be okay, but maybe just check in with, like, the hospital real quick to make sure you don't have any internal damage or something. Don't worry, the kid was totally fine, nothing, just a few scratches or whatever. But when you get swung on, it's always good to make sure that there isn't any damage below the surface. And yeah, from that point on, the spoiled kid was never seen from again. However, like, they were always like, I mean, this happened last summer. So who knows what happens next summer? Maybe the spoiled kid will try and come back. And let's just say that the host of the party will not be hosting another party anytime soon. And if anyone's going to be hosting a reunion type party with any of their friends, they're not just going to make sure that the circle is small. They're going to make sure that the circle is minuscule. Like, so minuscule, because they actually never figured out who told the guy of the date. Like, the next day, the host of the party got, like, in a group chat with all the guys who went there and said, hey, who gave spoiled kid, like, the address? Like, I'm not gonna be mad, I just really want to know. And obviously no one fessed up, like, oh, I'm not gonna be mad. Low-key, that was pretty clearly Cap. Like, he was very clearly gonna be mad, because, like, I would be mad too, right? I mean, I totally get that. But yeah, that was the spoiled kid. Moral of the story is, I don't know, if you fail your test, don't set things on fire, dude. It's pretty easy. Like, I wouldn't think it's that hard, but I guess it is. And if you made it this far into the video, I'd like you to comment door. I'm not going to do this every single time, but on my longer videos, I'm going to have a second secret word just to see the people who make it all the way to the end, because you guys are really helping me out. If you want to keep helping me out, watch another video after this one. Thank you. Peace. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.